I'll be really excited here we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday evening. Is it Monday? I'm pretty sure
it's Monday.
It's Monday. Okay. Welcome to our Facebook Live, the first real one. It's not a test with a split screen. And so our guest this evening is Dan Koban. And Danny is Jack's brother, is my husband Jack's brother. Oh, here's Henry. Other guest is Henry. Say hi, Henry. But Dan is in the Army and went to West Point and is an Army Ranger. And so you guys can ask Dan, Uncle Danny is what we call him. I don't know if he'll let you call him Uncle Danny, but you can ask him whatever you'd like. And so the comments will show up on the side, I think. And if you want to talk a little bit about West Point or being in the Army, I will say, while I wrangle Henry for a second, I will say, when we wanted to do this, and I wanted to do a few different branches of the armed service, and I messaged you and Lauren because Danny's wife also went to West Point, and I messaged a friend who's a Marine and Army One. So
yeah, we have a tradition of that, beating Navy.
Army One.
Yeah.
So if you just want to tell us a little bit about what is West Point versus just joining the Army, and then how do you get to become a Ranger?
Sure. So West Point, it's the United States Military Academy. It's located in New York, so it's super cold up there. But it's to go to West Point, you apply when you're in high school, and each state has so many people that they can send. So when you finally get selected, it's a 4-year program, just like any other college that you would go to, except that you don't have any freedoms there like you would at a normal school. You go there and you do the military training in the summer. And then during the school year, it's the same as any other school. You do classwork, except that your teachers generally are Army officers. So they kind of teach you about the military as you're going along. And a lot of the classes are more geared towards, military applications. So they kind of try to cater all of the training that you're going to do. They try to make it applicable to like what you're going to do in the military. Lauren and I actually taught at West Point before we came to DC. We spent 3 years up there teaching math. It was lots of fun. Hey, Henry.
Hi.
but at West Point, you wear uniforms all the time. They every year they have the Army Navy game, you see, and all the cadets come out in their gray uniforms. They've been wearing the same uniforms for multiple centuries now. West Point was founded in 1802, so it's been around for quite some time. And it gives you a really great opportunities in the summer to go out and really do some really awesome training. I don't know, for the kids, it's probably boring for me to keep talking about West Point, but at the end of the day, it's a military academy. You go to school like everyone else, except you do military stuff on the side. And then to be an Army Ranger, everyone that graduates from West Point commissions to the military and they become an officer, and they can choose as a cadet, you can choose whatever branch you want to serve in. I chose infantry as my branch, and most people that go infantry will go to Ranger school. And then everyone else, you can pick any number of branches. My wife Lauren is a logistics officer, so she does supply stuff and maintenance, ship stuff to all ship supplies to all the soldiers and equipment. There's tons of different branches you can go into. But on the Ranger side of things, after I commissioned, I went and did some it's a 62-day course. You go, there's different phases. You start off down at Fort Benning, and you learn how to do patrolling. And then they have a second phase in Dahlonega, Georgia, where you go hike around in the mountains. And then the last phase is in Florida, and you get to hike around to the swamps. And you're just out in nature, in the elements. It's kind of like camping, except you don't have fires or comfortable stuff, and you you really push yourself to the limit to kind of live in the wild for 60 days and learn how to do Army stuff.
So when you're in the swamp, you have to be in your full uniform, even though you're in the swamp and it's super hot.
Oh yeah. You wear your full uniform everywhere you go. In the swamps, you're humping around a really heavy rucksack. It could be like 60 pounds. It could be up to 100 pounds, and you're lugging around this giant backpack full of all your Army gear, hanging out with the snakes and the lizards in the swamps. So it's fun.
And so I know Jimmy's not in here, but I know he's gonna want to know. Wait. Alexandria Norton says, "What is the craziest animal you have seen while out?" That's a really good question.
Mm. Well, in New York, whenever you do like your field exercises, you run into lots of bears. So I think the bears coming into your camp at night are kind of probably the ones that are most not welcome.
How do you get rid of a bear?
So we mostly just yelled at it, told it to leave us alone. There's some different ways you can. Everybody could stand up. The whole line of people will stand up. So hopefully the bear runs off. Or worst case scenario, they have grenade simulators you can throw and scare them off.
Oh.
So, but yeah,
you woke up and a bear was there. And let's see, Michelle asked, which phase did you find most difficult to get through?
Oh boy, I think they're all pretty difficult. I think the first phase in Georgia is the hardest part. I think because they, you're just getting to know the other people in your squad, and you're getting used to not sleeping and not eating. So I think that the wake up call really comes like that first phase, and they do a lot of different. You do like a physical fitness test, and you do some obstacle courses, and they really just kind of wear you down up front. And a lot of people will quit in that first phase when they realize that they miss home and it's cold and it's tired. So first phase.
When you say not sleeping much, how much not sleeping?
So I think I'd say like on most nights, I think you generally would get between like 4 and 5 hours of sleep. Some nights they'll go easy on you and let you kind of recoup and get 7 or so. But generally, there's times where you'll just walk through the night, and then by the time you get ready to sit down, the sun is coming up. So 3 or 4 hours.
Yikes. Okay. So Danny, I know you can't see on what we're looking at. You can only see Facebook user, but I have it on my phone so I can read. So Sarah Hardy says, my son, whose dad was a ranger, is 11. His dream is to be a SEAL. He didn't have a question, but wanted to tell you thank you for your service.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
How can we convince him to become a ranger? Is there a way?
Yeah, I mean, the SEALs are good too. I don't want to. I mean, Army is the better. I'm biased towards that, but we like the SEALs too.
Go Army, right?
Yeah, go Army.
Go Army. Mandy Mills. Go Henry. Mandy Mills says, "How many deployments have you had?"
So I've been deployed 3 times or 4 times. I went to Iraq a couple times. More recently, went to Afghanistan, and I've also been to Jordan.
And look, Jib, Uncle Danny.
Hi, Uncle Danny.
Hi, Jibby. How's it going?
And so, can you tell them when was your most recent deployment?
So my most recent deployment, I just got back a week ago, and I was in Afghanistan for a few months. So.
And I know.
Good to be home.
Jibby wants to know. Do you want to know how many times he's done?
How many times have you jumped out of an airplane?
Oh boy, I've only jumped out 6 times, but your aunt Lauren. Yeah, 6 times. That's right. I think that's how old you are. No, you're 7. That's 6. But
so, was it awesome or was it super scary?
Oh, jumping out of planes is fun. It's really great. I wish I could do it more. But your Aunt Lauren jumps out of planes every month, and she's probably jumped out like 25 times, maybe 30. I don't know.
Way. So, if y'all, this is happening. If y'all are just joining us, so Danny is my brother-in-law, is Jack's brother, and he is a West Point grad, and there's Jack. Jack's the class clown, the family clown. Danny's a West Point grad and is an Army Ranger, and his wife Lauren is also a West Point grad. And so we're gonna do a follow-up video with Aunt Lauren as soon as we can. Not today, but because she was busy, but as soon as we can. So we're just having the kids ask whatever questions they have for Danny. Danny, can you tell us what rank you are?
I am a major.
Whoa. Yep. Do you guys know what that means? It's a pretty big deal.
So when you first start, you're a lieutenant, and then there's a second lieutenant. That's the first rank, and then there's a first lieutenant. Then you become a captain, and then you become a major, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm a major. So 4 ranks.
A major. You would call him Major Koban. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we told Uncle Danny when you were wearing your Army fatigues that he gave you when you were a baby. And we met that Army Ranger at the LSU game. Will you take these demons out of here? I don't think they would pass Ranger school. Okay. All right, let's see. Excuse me. Okay, so you jumped out of an airplane. Have you jumped out of a helicopter?
Yes. Lauren and I started at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. It's the Air Assault Division of the Army. So we spent many years there, and both went to the Air Assault School and got to jump out of helicopters, and it was also fun.
So we may have different answers depending on you and Lauren. Who is braver when it comes to jumping out of a flying vehicle?
We'll say Lauren. Lauren has more recent experience. I haven't jumped out in a long time. Probably. God, probably like 15 years since I've jumped out of an airplane.
Julia St. Smoke, who I went to college with, said her son Logan wants to know what basic training was like. But your basic training was very different than just enlisting in the Army basic training, right?
Yes. So West Point has it's made to mirror what a soldier would go through in basic training, but it's not the same. So like cadets go through about a 60-day program that you have you learn how to march and shine your shoes and show up to formation, and you get your hair shaved like a Army recruit. So they kind of break you down and let you learn how to follow other people before they teach you how to lead people. So the first part about the Army is easy. You just do what you're told and show up where you're supposed to be. So
and follow the directions.
If you listen to your parents, you'll be great for the Army.
Did you hear that?
And maybe if you don't listen to your parents, you can go to somewhere else like the Naval Academy.
Uh-oh. We're going to have to tell Major Kerrigan, let him know. He's our friend that's a Marine. Mm-hmm. That was too busy to do our live. No, I'm just kidding. I love Will. He had meetings tonight. Okay, do you have a question for Uncle Danny?
Oh, but there might be some other stuff. So on the basic training side, you also get to learn how to shoot a rifle. So they give you a gun. They teach you how to shoot it. You do some rappelling. So you get to go over the side of a mountain with a rope and jump down it and climb up it. So that's fun. You get to throw grenades. So that's fun. I'm trying to think what else types of cool things.
Do you have to climb ropes and scale walls?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely get to do some obstacle courses and climb over walls. At West Point, they have a water obstacle course where you get to do a zip line off of a giant tower into the lake, which is fun. Yeah.
You love zip lines? Yeah, me too. That would be awesome. Okay. And so then when in your so West Point is college, so at what point in your college did you decide you wanted to be an Army Ranger?
So for wanting to go Ranger school was more that's what I wanted to do as soon as I showed up. I didn't really even know about any other branches other than infantry when I was showing up. And it was only when I was a cadet that I got to learn about the other places I could go. And I'm actually an intelligence officer now, so I'm not infantry anymore. But I started off, all the summer training you do at West Point is geared towards doing patrolling and doing ranger-like tasks. So I'd say I always wanted to go the ranger route, and it was just made even more solid by talking to my instructors that had all been to ranger school, and they talked about it in class. So you want to be like your instructors. So yeah, I think I've always wanted to do it.
That is cool. Do you know that I don't know how much I can ask, or how much you can tell us about you worked at a cool building in Washington, D.C. I don't know if you can talk about, I don't know how much you can talk about and can't talk about, but you've worked some pretty cool places.
Yeah, so we both are stationed in D.C. now, and D.C.'s got all sorts of military there. They have the Pentagon. I spent a year working in the Pentagon, and that was it was interesting. It's tons of people every day, giant facility. You really get to see kind of the boring stuff. It wouldn't be as exciting as jumping out of an airplane, being in the Pentagon, but it was something.
So Julie's little boy Logan, that wanted to know what basic training was like, wants to know, is it helpful to be a Boy Scout before going to West Point?
Absolutely. The Boy Scouts have great success in the Army. And one of the biggest things on your application, if you want to go to West Point, being an Eagle Scout is a huge point booster on your applications, because they have shown time and again that all the skills you learn in Boy Scouting, learning how to start a fire and go out and walk through the woods and not get lost and do first aid and these types of things. The Army has got a huge amount of Boy Scouts in the ranks, and definitely helpful.
Cool. You know who was an Eagle Scout? Pop.
Oh boy.
Eagle Scout. Yeah. Pop was. I think Pop is watching. Let's see. John Bodnar is watching. Hey, John.
Boy.
Yeah. What do you have a question for Uncle Danny? Can we ask what's the scariest thing you've ever done, or the thing that scared you the most?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the deployments early on were a little bit a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because there's lots of it's a little bit dangerous sometimes. So I'd say like driving down a road where there's people trying to attack you could be a little scary. But it's not too scary because you're with the rest of your people. They're all out there with you. So you're out there serving next to your friends, and that's what makes you go. It's way more than any fear you'd have of being out there. Is you immediately want to be part of your team and be there for the people serving next to you. So nothing that you can't overcome.
Gotcha. Now, can I ask maybe a silly question, but I'm curious? Have you ever had to eat anything really weird or gross during training?
So my kids, we have what's called meals ready to eat. They're little plastic wrap bags of food, and some of those can be really gross and not tasty. But if you're hungry, they always taste good. Our kids love them. They like to eat them for dinner. We bring them home. So
I remember that. I do remember that. So Danny and Lauren have Annabelle and Daniel, and it goes Annabelle, then Jibby, then Daniel, then Henry.
Yep.
Yeah, the order. And so bunch of rats.
What's the coolest thing you can do with an MRE that doesn't involve eating it?
I shouldn't say this on Facebook, but you can take the heater and put water in it and then stick it in like a plastic bottle. And it'd kind of be like the dry ice bombs we used to make as kids growing up. But
Uncle
don't do that. Nobody does that. That's like something that Tennessee boys do.
Okay. Do you have a question for him? How do what? How did he learn how to shoot a gun? Ask him. I bet he had. I
hear you, Henry. What's your question?
He's the shy one, and you know Uncle Danny. How? Oh, he's turning my head. How did you learn how to shoot a gun?
So it's very methodical. They have a process. You learn different fundamentals for how to control your breathing, how to look down the sight post, point the weapon correctly. Also safety first. That's always a big thing, right? So you got to know how to work the safety on the weapon so that you know when you're firing and how to load it. Take the magazine and put it into the weapon and charge the handle to load around, and you learn how to breathe when you're shooting so you don't pull off as you're pointing the weapon. If you breathe wrong, you can kind of adjust where you're aiming at. So you learn all these different things. They teach you, and you spend a lot of time on the range. And they have different pop-up targets that pop up and you shoot them down, and you have to shoot so many of them down, or you have to hit so many targets before you can be qualified. But yeah, they just will do a lot of drills where they talk about shooting before you ever fire a round, and then they'll give you real bullets, and you go to a range and you learn how to shoot at the range.
Kind of like y'all go out in the woods sometimes with Pop and shoot the BB gun? Yeah.
I bet you most people in Louisiana could probably do pretty well out there on the range. They could probably teach us a thing or two.
Maybe so. Well, Danny, I won't keep you any longer, but we can certainly do this again. Or if people have more questions, they can just add on to their comments or add on to the comment section if they have more questions. The scariest thing I think we've ever done is homeschooling our children while working and sharing an office.
Yeah. I think it's great you're doing these things. I see one more question down here that just came in.
Okay.
Kind of some of it.
That's a good question.
There's a question from Logan that wants to know how intense are the drill instructors at West Point. They should really ask this question to Aunt Lauren, because she was a drill instructor for her summer training as cadre, and she was pretty intense. She probably made them cry. But no, the drill instructors at West Point are the upperclassmen. So as someone coming out of high school and you're young, they're pretty intimidating to you at the time. I think they're pretty intense, I would say. They scream a lot, and they, make you nervous because you have to do things exactly the way they ask you to do it. And it can be pretty frustrating for somebody if you haven't been yelled at before.
And then that last question that just came up is from Pop himself.
Ooh. Have I shot a Barrett? I have not, but I was in charge of a scout platoon at one point, and they did have Barretts. And
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's a sniper rifle. 50 cal. No, I haven't shot one, but I've worked with the people that do. It's one more thing on my bucket list. I need to add that one before I get out.
Whoa. Good question, Pop. And I know a couple of people just joined, especially Sherry is on, and she has 2 little boys. I say little; they're getting bigger. They may end up having questions.
But for pops here, I did get to shoot a 50 cal machine gun, which is pretty cool, and a grenade launcher. So you get to shoot that stuff.
That is really cool. That's really cool. Did you just get to do that in your training?
Yeah, you get to do it in your training.
Sorry, I meant like, does everybody have to do that?
Oh no, yeah. So Lauren's also shot. Lauren's also shot a 50 cal.
Of course, Lauren. Of course, Lauren has. Lauren's awesome. And when y'all meet Lauren's how tall is Lauren? Like 5'2"?
She's 5'2", yeah.
5'2", tiny, but yeah, I wouldn't cross her.
Yeah, no.
Punched in the stomach by her several times.
Jack said he's been punched in the stomach by Lauren several times.
This is correct.
So Pop says, thanks, Danny. Wow, get us one. No,
we'll work on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will. I think we'll let Danny enjoy the rest of his evening, and I'm gonna try to stop Henry from eating all the popsicles that we have.
Nice.
Put a serious dent in there.
He's eating a lot. And then we can catch up and people can ask more questions. And so, Danny, the questions will be on this thread. And so if you just want to hop back on and if people have more questions, just answer those questions. And we'll do this again because this was fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I want to point out, see this.
Oh, jeez. We were debating if you were coloring your hair. Does he color his hair, Ashley?
Oh, natural. It's natural.
It's probably it is, but I bet within the year probably it's gonna go.
It's gonna go all at once. He's gonna look just like.
I have all the dark hair. Just want that to be known.
All right.
From all that geology, it keeps you younger.
So Amy McGuckin joined. So Amy, tell Parks to come back and watch this later because Danny is an Army Ranger, and I know Parks will enjoy that. And thank you so much, Danny, for taking time and joining us. This was really fun. And what do you call Army jail? What's Army jail?
Leavenworth? Fort Leavenworth?
But like if you capture somebody and you need to put them in jail.
Oh, a detainee?
Like if we were on a ship, I would throw him in the brig, right?
Oh, I don't know. Detention facility.
Look at him. The little dictator. All right. Cool. Thanks so much, Danny. Have a good evening.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Bye. Say bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye, hermano. Adios.
Bye.
Adios.